Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our docu-series, Hormones, Health, and Harmony. I'm Dr. Trevor Cates, best-selling author and founder of the Spa Doctor Natural Skincare line. You may have seen me on the TV show The Doctors or hosting the public television series Younger Skin from Within. Over my years seeing patients and researching hormones and skincare, I discovered something startling happening inside our bodies. We're too toxic. We've all heard about how chemical toxins have invaded our environment, from pesticides in food to lead in water supply, and even toxins in the personal care products we apply to our bodies every day. Women use an average of 12 personal care products each day, exposing us to 168 different ingredients. Unfortunately, the FDA does not require safety testing on skincare ingredients and has only banned 11 ingredients in personal care products. The European Union, on the other hand, has banned over 1,300 ingredients in personal care products. You and your family are being exposed to tens of thousands of toxic chemicals that no one fully knows the long-term effects of. Our ancestors never had to deal with these toxins. That's the bad news. Let's talk about the good news. In this episode, you'll get a crash course on how these toxins are impacting your hormones. More importantly, you'll come to understand how you can identify them, make different food and product choices, and detoxify your life. In this segment, we'll start with what doctors and healthcare specialists have to say about the hormone disruptors that wreak havoc on our bodies from the inside.
A woman in her 50s came to see me for hair loss. And that's a really big issue for women, is when your hair is falling out. And it was more shedding. It seemed to be she was losing a lot of hair on her pillow at night or in her hairbrush or in the shower. And typically we think that is related to thyroid hormone or low testosterone or high testosterone levels, but all of her hormones were normal. So I started asking her more questions and trying to find out what else it could be. And so I found out she had been eating tuna twice a week. And tuna is one of those fish that is fairly high in mercury. So I did a blood mercury test and the level came back at 18. It should be below 5. So I immediately had her stop eating tuna. And then I took her through this cleansing process that I use with vitamins and minerals. And because it was a metal that was present, I added in a pharmaceutical medication called a heavy metal chelator. And that binds up the mercury and pulls it out. The most important thing is her hair stopped falling out. And she was so excited.
We live in a toxic world. We know that the average American gets exposed to over 80,000 toxins a year. So this is, again, between what we eat, what we breathe, and what we drink. And out of that 80,000 chemicals, only 200 have actually been studied for their long-term safety. So we really have no idea what happens when you get exposed to all these things over the course of decades. But we do know that our body doesn't function nearly as well because these chemicals, again, they disrupt our immune system, they disrupt our digestion, they disrupt our endocrine system, and the more chemicals we get exposed to, the harder it is for our body to function well.
We are being confronted by chemicals that our human body has never experienced. We don't have the genetic ability to code for specific detoxification pathways to rid ourselves of chemicals that are in our environment now that we are exposed to quite aggressively. This is an environmental evolutionary mismatch that is having profound consequences.
I have found over the years that my practice has gotten much, much more complicated by the toxicities. I used to be able to give vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and women would get better. Now it's a different ballgame. The level of toxins that I'm seeing is just scary. Heavy metals, lead, aluminum, mercury, uranium, mold toxin. Mold, I don't know, mold's rampant. And people don't realize that these mycotoxins are very toxic to the nervous system, as are all these chemicals and metals.
The cumulative effect of all these toxins is that they build up in our body, and they can interfere with our hormones, they can interfere with our immune system, they can interfere with our brain function. So as we get exposed to more and more every year, and this problem's only getting worse, it adds up to a point where, our bodies don't function as well as they're supposed to.
Toxins are essentially have become so integral into our lives and are such a big portion of what's in our environment that when we talk about detoxification, we really have to do a revamp of everything. It needs to be really getting to every single point where toxins can infiltrate and getting rid of them out of our environment, out of the food that we eat, out of our vaginas, and being able to replace it or eliminate it from our bodies in a way that can clear away the symptoms that we have just accepted as the norm.
And the average woman has traces of 400 toxic chemicals in the cells of her body, the majority of which are interfering with her hormone balance. They're sitting on the cells on receptors that are blocking hormones from being able to do their job. They're sitting on receptors on other cells that are stimulating them in an abnormal way. So these endocrine disruptors are a huge part of why we have hormonal imbalance.
So endocrine disrupting compounds, EDCs, are chemicals that women are exposed to through food, air, water, or personal care products. And they might not realize they're being exposed to these chemicals. And they can disrupt hormones in the body. They can either act like hormones such as estrogen or act like an anti-estrogen. They can even mimic testosterone or act like an anti-testosterone. They even can disrupt thyroid function. So we see these endocrine disrupting compounds in very low doses that we're exposed to all day long from multiple exposures in our food, our air, our water, and our personal care products, sometimes being contributing factors to symptoms or health conditions.
One of the sneaky things about endocrine disrupting chemicals is they can make you act and feel more estrogen dominant, estrogen excess, but it won't show up on lab work. So here's what happens. Women say I have PCOS, I have heavy periods, fibroids, endometriosis, full tender breasts. They go to their practitioner, they get blood drawn, and lo and behold, their estrogen is in the normal range. And so they're told they're normal. But what's sneaky is that because they mimic estrogen, but they don't look 100% like estrogen, that means they can come into the body, they can bind to the estrogen receptor and turn it on. So now you've got turned on full tender breasts. You have turned on endometrial tissue that's painful. You've turned on heavy periods, clots, your fibroids are growing. So, but because they don't look like estrogen completely, they're not going to show up on lab work. Lab work is only checking for your estrogen. The chemicals, close enough, not close enough to show up on lab work. So women will often notice, oh my gosh, as I'm eliminating these xenoestrogens, these endocrine disruptors, my estrogen symptoms are getting better. But I was told my estrogen's normal. I'm like, your estrogen is normal. But they're sneaky and they're stealth and they're coming in and binding to the receptor and giving you all the symptoms as if you have estrogen excess.
It's so valuable then to understand how this whole thing sets up and what we can do as healthcare providers to get that information out to individuals who are suffering, that this is a cycle that not only can be interrupted, but we can to some degree undo the damage.
Chemicals are in everything and everywhere. What are your best tips for removing them from our environments?
The first step I recommend is to swap out the cleaners, because that's the easiest thing to get rid of. And there's a lot of great cleaners on the market. You can actually even make your own cleaners with just very few ingredients, things like salt, vinegar, distilled water, Castile soap. You know, they're not difficult ingredients to find. Baking soda, we have them all inside of our house. We can literally swap all of our cleaning products for those 5 items there. And then when it comes to personal care, I know for me, it took me years to break up with my deodorant. But finally, knowing I was gonna be a mom, I had to get rid of it.
We use a shampoo, conditioner, and then some type of styling product in our hair. Well, many of the chemicals in there are petroleum-based, artificial colorings, artificial flavorings, preservatives, stabilizers. If you can't pronounce it and you don't know what it is, you don't need to put it on your body, because you absorb equally well through your skin as you do if you put it in your mouth. And some of the hair care products that we use, go read the ingredients. You literally wouldn't take a spoon of that and put it in your mouth. You don't want to put it on your hair or your skin.
And then the other really big area important for women in terms of avoidance of these endocrine disrupting chemicals is cosmetics and personal care products. And I ask them to look for the buzzwords, that you want to avoid products free of parabens and phthalates and the bisphenols. All of those have a P in it, so I say just avoid the Ps. And it is now really easy to do that because a lot of companies have removed parabens and phthalates and bisphenols from personal care products and cosmetics. So it's really not that hard. There's some great alternatives out there for women.
A lot of women aren't aware about their nail care and what they're using. Acrylic and gel and all these artificial nail care products are used. Well, your nail, although it looks hard and impermeable, they're very permeable. They're just as permeable as your skin. So anything that you put on your nail, especially after it's been manipulated in such a way that the blood flow has increased to the nail bed, it is going to go into your system. In fact, they've done studies and they've taken blood samples of women after they got acrylic put on their nails, and the levels were in a toxic range in their blood. Now, a lot of these products, they're not required to list the ingredients, but you can go online to places like environmentalworkinggroup.org, and they do have a database of products, and do they have toxic chemicals like phthalates, etc. in them, and they'll actually give a rating.
First of all, we need to read labels. We need to be very mindful of what we put on our body, just as much as we put in our body. Even things like polyaromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs. What are those? Those are like your synthetic fragrance. It's your perfume. It's cologne. It's the scented candles that you have around your house that they come in like really cute jars, so you bought them. But it turns out even if you don't light them, they're still off-gassing that smell that's so wonderful, polyaromatic hydrocarbon. The things you have in your cars, the trees, the plugins, all of that, polyaromatic hydrocarbons. And so plastics, it's your plastic Tupperware, it's your plastic saran wrap, it's your plastic bags. And when they get heated, such as you get coffee to go, and you've got your to-go cup, and it's got the plastic lid on top, and you have that hot drink in it, and now you drink the hot drink in through the lid, you're pulling the plastics, it's getting micro-melted into your body. And it's being mindful of these things as much as you can, whatever fits into your lifestyle and your budget, to start to peel them away.
Dryer sheets are particularly toxic. It's basically toxins impregnated on a piece of paper, and you're putting that into your dryer. It's going through your clothes, that's then you're wearing, and is being transmitted into your bloodstream through your skin, and you're inhaling it as the clothes are drying in the dryer, and as you're walking around, they're being released into the environment. So you want to get all these volatile scents, you want to get them out of your house. Then you want to look a little deeper in your home, and you might want to look at the type of paint that you use, the type of carpet, tile, the furnishings. Most of the furnishings and textiles that we use in our house in this day and age are full of toxins.
I always want to educate my patients on avoiding some of these endocrine disrupting compounds. So the first thing I do is I take a look at where they live and what is the air quality in the area that they live in. And are they using some type of HEPA air filtration, maybe in their bedroom at night or at their workplace, wherever it is that they spend the most amount of time. Because HEPA type filters can filter out a lot of the particulate matter and air pollutants. And then I want to know what type of water are they drinking and using for cooking. For most of these endocrine disrupting compounds, reverse osmosis filtration is adequate to remove these chemicals. And then I educate my patients on installing a RO water system at home for cooking and drinking.
We've talked about toxins being absorbed through our skin, hair, nails, and lungs, but what about the vagina and feminine care products?
Our feminine hygiene products are made from cotton. Most of it is non-organic. So now let's take this toxic cotton with glyphosate, known to cause intestinal permeability, uterine permeability, and inflammation, and let's insert it right into our vagina, which is then going to have, obviously, a very negative impact on our hormones, have a negative impact on our ability to conceive, and if that wasn't enough, an increased rate of pregnancy loss from using these pads and tampons in our reproductive organs.
I will never forget driving into a cotton field and being so excited because cotton is a beautiful plant, and I leapt out of the truck and I started to head into the field to look at the cotton, and the farmer said to me, "I wouldn't go out there, we just poisoned that last week." And I about fell on my face. And then we got into a conversation about how he drives 40 minutes from where he lives to buy organic food, how his garden is separated enough from his fields so that there's no blowing of the chemicals onto his family's vegetable garden. He'd lost many family members to cancer, and they recommend not walking out into the fields during certain times. And I will never forget that.
I've been asking all my patients to change what they use for their feminine products. I would say 80% come back with, hey, my pain, my premenstrual pain, went from like an 8 out of 10 to a 3 out of 10 within 1 month of changing these products. And I'm like, yes, thank God.
The toxicity and chemical potential in tampons gives me goosebumps because I have spent my entire life focused around eating the right food and growing the right food. It never crossed my mind.
Well, avoiding toxins, again, starts with education. You need to educate yourself about where these toxins are found. In some cases, we can't control it. If they spray something in the air, that may be out of our control. But we control what we put in our mouth. We control what we put on our skin. But I think it's something that most people don't think of as being a factor in their health, but it's the one factor that in many cases we can control completely. So it's really about educating people and having that awareness about what you're putting in and on your body that can impact your health.
We also know that these toxins have a profound impact on our family's digestive system, brain function, and their endocrine systems. And so I think as the moms, we do run the household. I know I run mine. And so, I'm usually making decisions for what we're using in our house. So the more that we can be educated about what causes a toxic load, the more that we can make those changes for ourselves and our family.
Have you ever planned a picnic with a family on a beautiful sunny day, only to arrive and see dark clouds headed your way? Your relaxing family outing turns into a race to pack up and beat the rain. And you think, I really should have checked the weather. Think of what we just saw as a weather forecast. Now that you know what's coming, you can make choices to help keep what's outside in the environment from disrupting the hormones inside your body. Here are some important takeaways to keep top of mind. There are over 80,000 chemicals in our environment, most of which have not been tested on the effects on our health. Ridding them from your body is an important step to return your hormones to balance. Swapping out old cleansers with non-toxic cleansers is one of the easiest ways to rid toxins from your home. Many skincare products are petroleum-based. Petroleum is also used to make gasoline. Why not use plant-based oils instead and skip the possible toxic exposures? Your nails are permeable like skin. Studies show toxic levels of chemicals in the blood after artificial nail gels are applied. Research your nail care products to avoid these hidden toxins. Feminine hygiene products are often made with chemical-treated cotton. Menstrual and fertility issues have been linked to these chemicals. Look for organic feminine care products whenever possible. We hear a lot about organic food, but what does that really mean? Well, this apple has been grown in soil treated with chemical fertilizers. It's also been sprayed repeatedly with chemical pesticides to kill bugs and other living organisms, essentially raised in a toxic environment. This apple is grown organic in natural soil, no synthetic fertilizers or pesticides, the way fruits and vegetables were grown for thousands of years before toxic chemicals entered our environment. Which would you rather eat? In this segment, we explore how eating foods free from toxins is vital to your hormones and your health.
I think that in food choices, you have a great opportunity to avoid toxins. The air we breathe, maybe not so much. There are toxins in the air we breathe, potentially in the water we drink, and we maybe don't have as much control over that. But in your food choices, you can choose to eat the cleanest food available to you. And the toxins that are used in some conventional farming practices are not life-affirming. They are out there to kill things, to kill insects, to kill molds. And I think when you think about it, you realize it's going to do that in your own biome.
I think it's really important to assume that everything is toxic or tainted until proven otherwise. And the problem is you don't really know, especially with manufactured foods. The whole notion of manufactured foods is a bit of an oxymoron, I would think. But how can you be sure? You want to buy as organic as you can. You also want to even consider the safety of so-called organic foods. And therefore, if you have the opportunity, grow your own food. The world isn't so dialed in on this. I mean, your lawn service may well be wanting to spray poisons on your grass that you will walk across, and you have to be diligent and tell them no.
One of our colleagues, Dr. Kara Fitzgerald, just did a study in the journal Aging, and in that study, they had the participants eat a diet rich in dark green leafy vegetables that help the body methylate properly. They had a lot of phytonutrient-rich berries and nuts and seeds, and they did exercise every day. They made sure they had adequate sleep. In that study, in 8 weeks of this diet and lifestyle program, they were able to roll back what they call the Horvath biological clock 3 years. 3 years in 8 weeks of therapeutic lifestyle change. That's really powerful.
I always tell my patients, go shop the perimeter of the grocery store. That's where all the real food is. So that's fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. And look, if you can't afford organic, that's okay. Just eat fresh fruits and vegetables. That's a great place to start.
I know there's concern about the higher price of buying organic food. Can I afford it, and is it really worth it? What do you think the answer is?
When someone says that they can't afford to eat organic, there's a part of me that says, I think you can't afford not to, because you are still going to be exposing yourself to toxins. The other thing is, if you simply cannot afford it, still eat the highest quality vegetables and fruits that you can. And if you need to, just scrub those very well to remove the toxins from them. You may need to peel them. Unfortunately, that loses some of the phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals, but it beats eating the toxins that are inherent in our food supply.
You want to eat organic. You just do. Grass-fed, free-range, unprocessed foods. No artificial flavorings, colorings, preservatives. If it comes in a package, just generally don't eat it.
Food is medicine because it is what powers our body. it provides the basic nutrients that we need to make our hormones, to make neurotransmitters, to make muscle, to keep our body in ultimate balance. And when we're living on a refined and processed food diet, we simply don't have the nutrients to build proper red blood cells, to create the healthy muscles and bones that we need. So the simple act of eating real whole food actually provides the building blocks of health and resilience.
I have been a small-scale organic farmer for 18 plus years at this point, feeding the Park City community primarily. People say, how do you deal with, pests? And I say, well, it depends on the pest, but one thing farming has taught me is how to share. There's no way to get rid of all the pests. And they shouldn't be gone. They play a role. It's a balance between how much they get and how much I get.
A new study has confirmed that the minimum that we need is each day 2 servings of fruit and 3 servings of vegetables. So if you do a smoothie in the morning, that's going to give you 2 or 3 servings of fruits and vegetables. If you do eggs on a bed of arugula with some tomato, that's a delicious way to have 2 servings of vegetables. And do a big, beautiful salad at lunch and make it a rainbow salad. Make it an Asian rainbow slaw one day or a chopped salad another day. And then at dinner, you can stir fry or steam or saute vegetables. And it's easy if you break it up to 2 servings or 3 servings 2 or 3 times a day, maybe an apple or a piece of fruit in the afternoon.
I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me and said, why do your carrots taste so good? Or why are those cherry tomatoes so amazing? Or, why is your lettuce so good? And it's an easy answer. It's just because it was grown in nutritionally complete soil and harvested at the right time. Welcome to real food.
We have an organic vegetable garden at our home, so we know the source of our food, and then we buy as organic as we can. We know that by and large, the reason that we have genetically modified seeds is to allow farmers to then spray the crops with poison to kill the weeds. That poison is generally glyphosate. And I've often thought that, if an alien could come down to Earth and would be wondering why we're suffering the way we are with respect to our health, which we are, I think the first question that said alien would ask would be, you mean you're spraying the food that you eat with poison? And I think when you confront that reality in that form of a question, you really do take a step back. So I think as an overriding principle, avoiding genetically modified foods, not because there's necessarily something inherent in the gene modification, but again, because the GMO part of the story generally allows the spraying of the food with poison. And I can never get through saying that without having a pause in my voice because it's so profound.
Gardening, no matter what the scale, is so fulfilling. If you plant a seed and you water it, it will grow and it will blow your mind. I think that people can garden in their windowsills. They can garden on their kitchen counters by a window. We can do that in northern climates in the winter. You can do that inside your own house. If you have a lot of lawn, I don't know, think about converting a patch of it to your own garden. It is therapeutic. It is beautiful. It is time outside using your body. And if you are growing the right crops for your bioregion, you will succeed.
Besides eating whole foods free of chemicals and pesticides, are there any specific foods that can actually help the body detoxify?
Some of the top foods that help are the brassica family. So think of your broccoli, your kale, your cauliflower. Another food that's really great are broccoli sprouts. Broccoli sprouts contain an ingredient in them called glucoraphanin and an enzyme known as myrosinase. I don't know who names these things, but it wasn't me. I'd make them much more like nail polish names if I had to name them. So glucoraphanin and myrosinase meet and they become sulforaphane. And sulforaphane increases enzymes to get those factories going so that you can eliminate toxins better. So just by having a handful of broccoli sprouts in your salad or in your smoothie, in your soup, can be really helpful.
Some of my favorite nutrients and herbs that I use in this process of cleansing and getting these chemicals out of the body are a group of herbs that in the naturopathic world we call choleretics and cholagogues. And that would be milk thistle, burdock root, beetroot, dandelion root, not dandelion leaf, that's a diuretic, we use that for hypertension, so dandelion root. And these help support the liver.
Choline is really helpful. So think of like your egg yolks, you know, do you eat the egg yolk or do you not eat the egg yolk? You need that choline for that section there. We're also commonly zinc deficient. So eating foods that are higher in zinc, or if you have been neglecting your zinc, talk to your practitioner about taking zinc, because that helps all with detoxification in that area, especially for estrogen.
Beyond vitamins and minerals, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, there are pigments in plants called phytonutrients. These are compounds made by the plant in an effort to defend itself from stressors like drought and pests. Those compounds, which happen to be in the colored berries, the green leafy vegetables, the purple cabbage, those fit into receptors on our cells that affect the nucleus of our cells and affect gene expression. They speak to our genes, if you will, and in doing so help to regulate hormonal balance, help to regulate energy, and build resilience. So we need to be eating a minimum of 5 to 7 servings of brightly colored fruits and vegetables each day, eating from the rainbow, if you will, supplying our body with a set of nutrients that are critical, though they have not yet been put on the list of essential nutrients.
Some of my favorite antioxidants that I use is green tea, turmeric or curcumin, N-acetylcysteine, because it actually helps increase an antioxidant called glutathione, which is really important for helping to get these chemicals out of the body. And then making sure the gut microbiome is balanced.
I'd like viewers to hear more about glutathione. Is it something you recommend to your patients? Can you explain what it is, what it does, and how you make it?
It is kind of the mothership antioxidant, so to speak. And what's interesting is that a lot of chemicals deplete glutathione from the body. Pesticides, for example, can deplete glutathione from the body. And then if you don't have enough glutathione, you're more susceptible to the adverse effects and harmful effects of being exposed to other chemicals. So glutathione is a really important antioxidant to make sure that people have adequate amounts. And that can be administered orally in a pill or in like a gel, or sometimes intravenously if I want to get a rapid high-dose exposure of glutathione into the body.
Glutathione is our body's most powerful detoxification enzyme system. So glutathione can be used, or N-acetylcysteine, one of the amino acids that makes glutathione, is a wonderful detoxifying agent.
We have been growing organic food for most of our human history. It's only in the last 50 years or so that we've forgotten how to grow food with nature. And we are standing on the shoulders of thousands and thousands and thousands of years of humans living on this planet and eating from it. It's not new, it's not, woo-woo, hippy-dippy. It's the way it's supposed to be grown, and it's the food we're supposed to be eating. We evolved to eat food grown from nutritionally complete soil, and that is how we are our best humans.
According to a recent study by the Environmental Working Group, nearly 70% of conventionally grown produce contain harmful pesticide residues. Many of these pesticides are endocrine disrupting chemicals that interfere with your hormone receptors and keep hormones from doing their job. Fertility, sleep, mood, weight, all disrupted from the chemicals on most of our fruits and vegetables. Nowadays, it takes far more than just an apple a day to keep the doctor away. Let's recap some of the choices that will lead to a healthier shopping list. Beware that foods may be full of pesticides. Look at the labels and choose organic whenever possible. Due to the high level of antioxidants, eating a diet rich in dark green vegetables, nuts, and berries can turn back your biological clock by several years. Eat 2 servings of fruit and at least 3 servings of vegetables per day. Being creative with food is a helpful way to reach your daily minimums. Eating cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, and cauliflower helps promote healthy estrogen metabolism. Glutathione, one of the body's most powerful antioxidants, gets depleted by chemical toxins. Healthy eating, exercise, and supplements like NAC and milk thistle will help replenish this vital antioxidant. I've seen patients for over 20 years with some variation of the same problem. They say their body is changing and they simply don't feel right. My approach is always to find the root cause of the problem. But with so many toxins disrupting our hormones, the root cause is often hidden. High levels of toxicity can interfere with hormones and make getting the right diagnosis more difficult than finding a needle in a haystack. That's why it's imperative to detox your body. In this segment, we explore a variety of methods to detox your home, your body, and your life.
So I have a patient named Sarah. I met Sarah and she was 26 years old and she was tired all the time. Her body hurt. She was really barely functioning. And then we also found out that she was living on a Superfund site, which is basically toxic soup underneath where she lives. There used to be an Air Force base near where she lived and all the toxic runoff was basically flowing underneath her home. And a lot of her health issues really started after she moved into this new home. So as part of her comprehensive plan, we started her on a detoxification protocol where we're helping improve her liver function, her kidney function. And it took about 7 or 8 months to get to a point where she really felt well again. And shortly after that, she got pregnant and she had her first child. And her first child, fortunately, was very healthy.
Whenever we're talking about detox and kind of moving away from chemical exposure, toxin exposure, I go by the 80-20 rule. 80% you can control, 20% you just can't, and in that 20% you might have things that you choose not to. Like I will never stop getting my hair dyed. That will be in my 20%. But what are the things that you can just baby step change, just chip away at to change? Start with your body lotion. And these days, there's everything organic out. You'll look on a label and you'll see paraben-free and sulfate-free. So it's very easy to get products to replace the products that are currently in your bathroom. So start there. Start in the bathroom. Start with what you put on your body and onto your face. And then move on from there. Buy glass containers instead of plastic. That's easy. Get a water filtration system. Even if it's a zero water pitcher that you're sticking in your fridge to filter your drinking water, that is a great first step. And then a year from now, you'll look back at all those changes that you did and you'll go, wow, I have really reduced my toxic exposure just by making those baby step changes throughout the whole year. And then those habits will stick.
Hormone detoxification happens 24/7, 365. People will often say like, oh, I did a 3-day detox, I'm fine now. Or, oh, I did a 5-day detox, I'm fine now. And while they're helpful, remember, detoxification never slows down. It doesn't slow down for Sunday, your birthday, Christmas, Hanukkah. It just does not stop. So we have to be very mindful of our detoxification all the time.
Number one thing for detox is first removing the problem. One of the things, so I actually had breast implants removed over a year ago, and it was because they were toxic and they were poisoning me. And this is actually something that I see a lot with women, especially women that come in who have breast implants and who have thyroid issues. Those two really go hand in hand. And it doesn't matter whether you have silicone or whether you have saline. The outer shell is still made of the silicone, still contains hundreds of different chemicals that are known toxins to the body. So in that regard, you got to just remove the toxins first. And then, of course, you can start doing things to help detox the body. And we have to do that by amplifying the different routes of detox.
Hormones go through a 3-step process to get eliminated out of the body. So in the first step, we take our hormone and we convert it into a different hormone. It's known as a metabolite. Unfortunately, bad design, that metabolite is often very toxic. So then we go through the second phase of detox where we make that toxic metabolite water soluble. Why water soluble? What does that mean? It means that we can now urinate it out through our kidneys in the water, or we can get rid of it in our intestines, in our stool, in the water. And that is phase 3. So phase 1 is the conversion into the toxic metabolite. Phase 2 is to neutralize it, water soluble. Phase 3 is to get rid of it.
So you've got to open up your detox pathways. So what are your detox pathways? Well, your breathing for one, you can breathe things out, and your pee and your poop. And your poop comes from your liver, primarily. I call that the main sanitation station. It has the responsibility for getting rid of about 90% of the toxins in your body. And I'd say for the average woman, most of us are chronically constipated, and we normalize it, and sometimes our doctors even normalize it. And it's so abnormal.
We got to get people having a bowel movement every day, at least 1, if not 3. There's something called the gastrocolic reflex, which basically means that if you're going to eat something and something goes in here, something should come out the other end. A lot of people don't have that happening, right? They might have 1 bowel movement every 3 days. That's actually something I normally see in clinical practice. We need to change that around. We need people urinating. So urine is actually a concentration of all the toxic stuff that wants to come out of your blood. Your kidneys filter that. So anything that's floating through your blood that your body's like, nope, we don't want that anymore, we need to get them urinating. So that means adequate water intake, it means adequate electrolyte levels, it means adequate mineral levels too.
You know, I liken it to, look at the trash in your house. Well, I don't know. In my house, I take the trash out every day. I don't like it if it sits there because it stinks, because it's trash. And the same is true in your body. You got to take the trash out every single day. If you're not taking the trash out every day, you're increasing your toxicity, because that phase 3 where it actually has to get into the toilet is vital, because what happens is when the stool sits in your body, you actually start reabsorbing the toxins. And this is particularly true for our hormone balance. One of the hormones that we actually will start reabsorbing is estrogen, particularly when our gut microbiome is off balance, and we can actually get estrogen toxic, where we're just recirculating, and we're not pooping out the excess estrogen. And women might experience like heavy, painful periods, anxiety, depression, weight gain. I just don't feel like myself. You feel PMSy all the time. That's often a sign of too much estrogen, and you might be estrogen toxic.
Most people I find are dehydrated. They don't drink nearly enough water because they're drinking coffee and soda and tea. So just even drinking pure, clean water can have a huge impact on your detox pathways.
We're all blessed with a unique gut microbiome and individual genetic characteristics. What role do our genetics have in our ability to detoxify?
Our genetics are what they are. We can't change that. That's the way you were born. But the epigenetics are the expression of those genes. So just because you might have a certain genetic disposition doesn't necessarily mean that that gene's not going to work. And when we look at all the genes involved in detoxification, some people may be genetically slow detoxifiers, and some people may be very, very fast detoxifiers. Pretty much everyone I see in my practice with any kind of chronic illness tends to be a slow detoxifier. I think genetically they are disposed that they don't get rid of things quickly, so a little goes a long way, and therefore when they get that exposure over time, it impacts them in such a way that their body just doesn't function the way it's supposed to.
There are tests that are available that can measure your ability to actually detoxify certain things that you are exposed to, that measure and can delineate and can graph for you how you are involved in both phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification pathways. And, you know, amongst functional medicine practitioners or integrative medicine practitioners, and certainly now in the field of personalized or precision medicine, these tests are gaining much more acceptance.
So after I determine my patient's condition or symptom might be related to these endocrine disrupting compounds, and I give them avoidance techniques and alternatives, I want to do some testing to see, have these chemicals built up in the body. And there's various companies that physicians use that offer blood and urine, we call them toxicant testing, whether you're looking for pesticides or solvents or metals. And then based on the results of the testing, I want to help remove these chemicals from the body.
And this is really all about what's called personalized or precision medicine, where simply saying, okay, you should avoid this toxin or that toxin, and then to enhance your detoxification ability, we're going to give you a suite of things, that we can be much more specific and make recommendations about what might be toxic to an individual. This might be alcohol, it might be aspirin, who knows? And that's what precision medicine is all about. And really helping to cultivate that ideal program for that individual, in this case, as it relates to his or her exposure to and then ability to deal with the various toxins that are so present in our environment.
So one example of this is a woman in her 60s who came to see me because she was concerned about her memory and she was having brain fog, and she thought it just might simply be related to low hormones and menopause. The reason I didn't think that was the case was she was already 10 years into menopause. And so she didn't have that initial symptom with menopause. This was later. And so through asking questions, sometimes I'm like a 3-year-old, like, why is she having this? Why is she having this? I found that she was living in a high air pollution area and possibly exposed to some of these chemicals through her air and through her water, because she was not drinking any type of filtered water. So we did some toxicant testing and found she had elevated metals and solvents in blood and urine test. So I took her through a cleansing process, helping the liver break down these chemicals, utilizing sauna therapy to help mobilize these chemicals from the fat tissue and storage sites and get them out of the body. And she felt like her brain fog lifted, her energy was better, and that her memory was better.
When it comes to the skin, your sweat, that is a major organ of detoxification. And in fact, if you are the type of person that doesn't sweat in heat and you're thinking it's a great idea, it's actually not. It means your systems are backed up and you need to be fully detoxing. So getting into a sauna, doing some rigorous physical activity, whatever can get your heart pumping so that you're getting that release of that sweat through your skin, awesome, and then rinse it off. You don't want anything that comes back out on the skin to be sitting there for a long period of time.
There's some great published studies on the effects of sauna therapy in getting these chemicals out. Most of the research published recently has been on first responders or firefighters who are out there fighting the wildfires, which, as we know, is pretty toxic. The reason sauna therapy is so useful for cleansing and getting these chemicals out is because a lot of these chemicals and these endocrine disrupting compounds are what we call very fat loving, and they can get stored in our fat cells and our fat tissue. And sauna therapy breaks down some of the fat tissue. And when you do that, you're releasing some of these chemicals and you can excrete them through your skin.
So although, again, we can't really change the genetics, we can change the expression. And that's really about environmental control. It's about controlling diet. It's about controlling that influx of chemicals to your body through what you eat, breathe, drink, or put on your skin. As much as we can control that, we change that epigenetic expression so that you're less likely to have a negative impact if you do happen to have a genetic disposition towards a certain illness.
People hear this information and then they say, oh my God, they're on alarm and they want to go home and change everything. You will overwhelm yourself and it will be very challenging. I say when something runs out, then research and replace. Do not try to do this all at once.
If you already are using something to store food, next time you're out, maybe buy glass. Take the lid off of your coffee cup when you get it to go. Make sure if you've run out of a lotion and you're gonna buy lotion anyway, buy one that's cleaner, buy one that's non-toxic. You run out of detergent, next time, buy a cleaner version. And it's just picking away at these one by one as you go through your whole household and your car and your beauty products, your shampoos, your personal products, and that will make a huge difference.
Let's face it, we're living in a world with an excess of toxins. Our beauty products, the things that we put on our bodies have gotten more and more toxic. Pesticides being sprayed on pretty much every food source that you have. I think now is the time that women need to shore up and realize that they can take control. They can do things, lifestyle, nutritional, even supplemental, to find that real balance and literally take back control of their life and feel like themselves again. Love what they see in the mirror again, and not wave the white flag saying, okay, I give up now. I guess I'll just deal with it.
Some problems are so big, there's just no single solution. The thousands and thousands of toxins in our environment is one of them. From the groceries we buy, to the cleaning and skincare products we use, to the steps to detoxify our bodies, there is just no one easy solution. But by consciously taking a multi-pronged approach, you have the power and best chance to rid your body of those harmful hormone disruptors and get back on track. Let's look at some of the highlights we just learned about reducing and ridding our bodies of toxins. When your current cosmetic products run out, replace them with toxin-free ones. Small steps add up over time. Urine is a detox pathway that filters the bloodstream. Staying hydrated with proper levels of electrolytes is key to healthy cleansing. Heavy periods, weight gain, and irritability are signs you may need support metabolizing estrogens. People with chronic illness are often slow detoxifiers. Proper testing and personalized medicine can tell your doctor what your specific needs are. Don't overwhelm yourself with big changes all at once. Consider what fits your lifestyle and budget, then make the changes one step at a time. We've all heard the safety instructions about oxygen masks when we fly, to adjust your own mask before helping others. The same guideline applies to all we've just heard about around toxins. They're in our world, in our bodies, and it's a huge concern. You and everyone in your home are affected, your partner, your children, your family. But it starts with you. Put your mask on first. Take the first step. Not only for yourself, but the ones you love. In our next episode, we'll explore how and why hormonal changes can impact your energy and motivation and put us on a roller coaster of ups and downs with our mood. I also have therapeutic solutions you may not know about. You'll want to see this. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.